Good morning, class, or good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're accessing this screencast. My name is Ms. Gutierrez. I'm also teaching this course with Ms. Tuttle. I've talked to many of you guys over email, on Skype, etc., but I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. And then the purpose of this podcast is to really focus on how to do the discussion board, how to use the 2010 census links, and how to find the demographic and statistical information you'll need to do your comparison between the cities in Contra Costa County. So first things first, if you don't know me, if you haven't interacted with me and you're curious about my background, education, etc., you can actually look, you can Google me, you can look me up on the college website. You can also look up my LinkedIn profile and it gives you a basic background. You can see what I've done before. You can see that I've worked at Los Menanos College for about 8 years now, and I'm very familiar with both the community college system and then the transfer system. So if you guys have any questions on future career goals, going to different colleges, or any of the resources, please feel free to contact me or Ms. Tuttle. But let's get back to the focus, which is the discussion boards. Now, I know some of you guys haven't really used the online platform before, so I just want to give you guys some tips. When I have to do a discussion board that asks me to look at links that are outside of one specific page, what I like to do is I like to have multiple tabs so you can see them here, right? The first thing we'll do is look at the week 7, right? The week 7 discussion board. You can always access it by going to communications, discussions. All of them show up. The last thing that you guys did, which I took a look at earlier, was the SA2 outline and works cited. But what we're going to focus on is the New American Divide, the week 7 post for the Murray reading. So the first part of the question is very straightforward and asks you to just analyze what Murray presents, right? The fictional towns of Fishtown and Belmont. But the part that I wanted to go over with you was this part B here under 2. So here the question's asking you to think about the idea of the super zips and to find a comparison. So that's this part here, research using the 2010 Census Interactive Population Map or the 2010 Census Thematic Map or the Bay Area Census Information, which I put into your weekly folders. You can go ahead and take a look at those. So let me go back. Here's the weekly folders. You go to week 7. And what you'll do is you'll find all of these links, right? So what it asks you to do is to, within Contra Costa County, to find 2 cities that also have this Belmont Fishtown demographic, right? What are those characteristics? So the first thing that I would have you do is look at this checklist that I'm highlighting right here, right? Now, when you read the comparison that he makes, he focuses on a couple of things. So he gives you information about social class, household income, single parent households, marriage, education, employment. It's a lot of information. So what I would suggest is to pick 2 of those characteristics. And what you can do to keep track of your information, since you're going to have to turn this into a nice, concise paragraph, is you can actually just make a table. When you're working with numbers, it's really important to try to keep everything organized. So what you can do here is just make a basic table where you have the information that you're going to find. So we'll call it an indicator. Then you have this idea of Fishtown and Belmont. So first things first, what information do you know about these 2 places? Well, the first thing he talks about is he talks about differentiating them by social class. And he calls Fishtown the working class and Belmont an upper class affluent community. And then what he does is he goes over typical education of the average person in Fishtown and Belmont. He goes over the amount of single parent households. He gives you information about typical household income. And what you'll want to do now is you'll want to look at the census site specifically to find information to fill in these little boxes, right? So, for example, what is a typical working class town in Contra Costa County? How would you know that it's working class? What kind of education level do people in this particular town or city have? How many single parent households do you have? What's the median household income? So those are the questions we're looking to ask. So we go ahead and go to the links provided, which are here. Now, a lot of you guys are very visual, so for you guys I would definitely suggest starting with the interactive map. But to get kind of the quick and dirty information, that is to start filling that out before visualizing it, you can go to bayareacensus.gov. I'll go ahead and click on it here, and you can actually look at information by cities. So you guys probably know Contra Costa County pretty well. So you'll know that if you're going to compare a working class city to an affluent city, you're probably going to compare, let's say, Pittsburgh, which would be a working class city, to take your pick, right? And I would say focus on the central county cities in Contra Costa for the affluent ones. So that would be Orinda, Moraga, Walnut Creek, Alamo, San Ramon, even Concord, if you look at the demographic information, is considered more affluent. So let's say that I want to start with Pittsburgh or Antioch, right? So I take a look at even Bay Point if you want to go really working class. Let's start with Pittsburgh. What you see here, and I'll go ahead and move this so you can take a look at the whole thing, is you get a snapshot of the 2010 census information. And what they do is they give you this information by population, households, race, demographics, and if you scroll down, you can find median household income. You can find all of that information here for you. And I'll just move this screen so you can take a look. And what you would do is you would start pulling some of this information. So, for example, let's look at, why don't we look at income? And we go all the way down here to the bottom. Income and poverty. It gives you the median household income. I'll highlight it here. It gives you educational attainment. So I'll highlight that here. So you can take a look. And you can take a look right away and see that in the city of Pittsburgh, most people, right, have a high school degree. And only a small percentage here, and again I'll highlight this information, have a bachelor's degree. Even smaller for graduate, right? So we're asked to do a comparison. So how would I compare this to, let's say, an affluent town? Well, let's pick an affluent one. Let's pick, let's go back to cities. Why don't we pick something like Orinda? And let's look at the same indicator. Let's look at educational attainment. You can look at household income and you'll see the huge variation. I mean, the other one, the median household income was in the $60,000 a year range. For Orinda, it's $132,000. So you can see there's one big comparison there. And then there's the other one, which is the educational attainment. Here you see the numbers kind of flipped, where you have the smallest number you see here is high school graduate. The largest numbers are bachelor's degree and graduate or professional degree. So you know that most people living in Orinda are, as Murray characterizes the Belmont town, affluent professionals, having all those characteristics that he describes. So what you would do is you would take all those numbers and you'd plop them in here. Household income for the two. You can put in here Pittsburgh if you choose, or if you wanted to choose Bay Point or any of those other cities in Contra Costa County that you would see have the working class traits. And then you can go ahead and fill that out. Okay? Let me go back now to give you an example of how to use the other external source, which is the census site. The census site is also pretty neat if you're a visual person, because it actually shows you the geographic location with a lot of this demographic info. It really mostly focuses on the cultural elements, so it does go into race, ethnicity, population more than income. But if you click on this guy here, it'll pop up. You'll be able to see this interactive population map. And what you can do is you can actually look at the video. If I just click on any part of it here, right, whether I click total population, ethnicity, race, household, etc. Let's say that I click on race. It'll give me a little pop-up that could walk me through it. Now, it's very straightforward. What you can actually do is get rid of this guy and just start zooming in. So like, I'm looking at California. You see that it's loading. I'm going to double click on that state. It's going to give me all the information. It even has a comparison button so that you can kind of log the cities or the locations that you're looking at, and it'll keep all of this information for you. But I want to zoom in here to look at counties. So you can continue to do that. I can actually type in a location. So let's say that I wanted to say Contra Costa. And what it'll do is it'll take me right there. It will give me that information, and I can work from there. So what I would do is I would zoom in, click that zoom in button, and now it breaks it up by county, right? So you can see San Joaquin, Solano, Sacramento, Contra Costa. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's look at cities. And all I have to do is put my browser over any of these cities. There's Oakley, there's Antioch, Pittsburgh, Bay Point, etc. And it gives me the information. So all I have to do is click on it. So here I'm going to click on Concord. It gives me the breakdown by race. And so you can see the amount of white, African American, Asian, etc. Now I can look at that guy, and then I can compare that to, and I can click compare there, right? And I could add another location. So here's add another location. And then I click on another city. So maybe then I'll go to Lafayette, right? And again, it gives me the information. I can go to, let's say, something very different like Bay Point. Right, and within Bay Point, click on that. You can see again, this is by housing tract. You can see again all the demographic information. If you say, okay, well, I'm more interested in population or in household, again, all you have to do is click on these guys. So I can click on this tab. And then I could say, okay, I'm going to look at total for Contra Costa, etc. Okay, so I wanted to go over those two. The last one, I don't know if you'll need it, but if you really like to visualize this, you can also find the poverty statistics by school district. And that usually is very telling. And that's this link right here, which is called Census Thematic Map. And what I did is I set it up so that it's already looking at California. And this is called the Small Area Income and Poverty Estimates section. And if you just look at this, it gives you percent in poverty for all ages. You can actually change that to under 18, ages 5 through 17. You can look at median household income here too visually. But again, just like the other one, you just find your county, click on that. It's very straightforward. You can zoom in on it. You can say that I want to look at school districts in that county. It'll load the data as you see. And then you can pull that information there, right? So here I have all of these districts. And you can just start clicking on them. So we are Mount Diablo. So you can think of what are all the school districts, or what are all the cities that are in the Mount Diablo School District. And that's Concord, Bay Point, etc. And when you click on that, it gives you color-coded the percent poverty. Now let's go to Pittsburgh, and you can see, look, I'll zoom